How was buds for you coming in as a Marine? Did you find it challenging? Did you find it like, I don't want to say easier, but did you think that was it easier having that background, or was it more challenging?
I think I had a few things that are really going towards me. First, I was 27. So I was on the higher end of the guys in the class. There was a couple 18-year-olds there, they had very little life experience. They had all the energy and all the testosterone in the world to get them through stuff, but they're much more impressionable, and the emotional swings to go along with it because they get much more invested. They hadn't really seen what the military was and how it operates in terms of everything's a bit of a game. All these training pipelines, they're not trying to kill you. This isn't actual combat. They're trying to simulate stress of combat through physical pain, sleep deprivation, sometimes nutritional deprivation, and just chaotic stress. The ultimate goal is to break you down and build you up and incorporate you into the community. And so if you're going into it understanding what the military is trying to accomplish, it changes your mindset a lot of allowing your emotions to get the best of you. I'm sure there's times when I was tired and frustrated that emotions flare up, but you can keep it much more controlled. So having 4 years at the academy, 4 years in the Marine Corps, showing up with essentially 9 years or 8 years at this point of experience being in the military in some fashion helps a ton. Being a little bit older, more mature helps a ton. Having some of my classmates from the Naval Academy that all went SEALs, they were 4 years ahead of me. So I'm hearing from guys that anywhere from 1 to 4 years ahead of me, hearing how buds was for them. And when you pull back the curtain a little bit on the mystique of buds and you hear about some of the stuff you do, experiences they had, when it happens to you, you're like, oh yeah, I heard about this. And so it's much less daunting. So going into it, I was much more comfortable than the average guy that had just shown up off the streets and was starting training.
You talked about emotions and how, like, an 18-year-old, like, they allow their emotions sometimes to get the better of them. They haven't to that maturity of controlling your emotions. Took me like most of my 20s. I felt
Yep.
like I belonged in like an institution on how erratic sometimes my emotions got, and until like my later 20s, where I was like finally like level-headed. So when did you and what did you do, like, to learn how to control, and what do you do for yourself, like, to control your emotions, to not react and let your emotions get the better of you?
Unfortunately, I think that's a little bit of nature versus nurture. How much of that is learned behavior versus it's just who I am as a person. I've always been very level headed, whether that's because of how my parents raised me or if that's just who I am. You obviously can learn it. There's breathing techniques and there's just being self aware and recognizing, oh, I'm acting out right now. I'm letting my emotions get the best of me. If you're self aware, well, I guess the first step is become self aware,
Mm.
understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Are you doing it because it's actually helpful, or are you doing it because it's making you feel better, or that you're getting attention from it? If you're able to recognize that my actions right now aren't benefiting the group, maybe I should change what I'm doing. That'd be the first step. And then once you recognize it, then you can work through, breathing techniques and just recognizing things. Okay, I hate this word, but I'm going to use it because I can't think of anything better. This triggers me. So maybe I just become aware that when this type of thing happens, I need to be more cognizant of what I'm doing. But I think the best way people can control their emotions is just being aware of how they react in certain situations, or seeing, is that how you actually want to be seen by others? Is this how I want others to think of me? Is this how I want to present myself? It's incredibly difficult, but once you start picking up on these cues, I think it becomes much easier to recognize and change habits.